Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is okay now that winter is almost over. It's not over yet. Have to always remember that it's not over yet, but it is getting there, right? So it was a little warmer today. It will warm up a little bit more the next few days, but today was pretty nice outside. We started to see some little uh, little greens on the trees already, so which always gives us hope. That means that nature is working as it should be, right? And hopefully we are also working as we should be working, and we're gonna talk a little bit about this tonight. But before we do that, let's do our initial prayer. Let's, if we want, let's close our eyes so that we can connect with God even more than we are right now, and raising our thoughts even higher and going inside of ourselves as well, so we can find God within ourselves, but also outside of ourselves, and saying, "Dear God, dear Creator, our Father, our Mother, our friend, here we are once again at our Cantinho de Luz, so that we can together raising our thoughts, opening our minds and our hearts to your love, that we can feel your presence in everything that surrounds us, so that your love can go deep inside of us and release ourselves from our old selves, so that we can improve and be better spirits and be a better us. May your presence be felt, but most importantly, may we seek for you and be in the lookout, watching and seeing and looking around ourselves and noticing you in all the smallest things in the world, so that we can be aware that you are with us at all times. May Jesus, our friend, the one that gives us, that came here to talk to us and to teach us, may we also feel his presence, and may we learn with him that you are not far away, but you are really very close to us. May your blessings bless tonight's meeting, bless our hearts, our minds, so be it. So, tonight, as we usually do, we read a small message from a book before we start our meeting from tonight. With the main topic of the night, we're going to read a message from this book, the Way, the Truth, and the Life, which was written by the Spirit Emmanuel and written through the psychography of Chico Xavier. And the chapter that we're going to read is chapter number 4, which is entitled Work. And in John, or in the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verse 17, John wrote, "But Jesus answered him, My Father is working even now, and I work also." And Emmanuel says the following: Everywhere we look, we see unhappy, complaining people. Almost all of them are actually asking for help. Very few love the task they have been given. Most people complain about their job. Those who clean the streets want to be business persons. Those who work in a countryside would prefer life in the city. The problem, however, is not the job, but the understanding of the opportunity. Usually, complaints in this regard are the product of an unconscious laziness. It is the innate desire to hold on to what is useless and ruinous from failures in the obscure past. But Jesus came to save us from dying in sin. He brought us the blessing of work, which is the unceasing activity of life, so that we may know how to honor our own endeavor. Jesus referred to the Father, who never stops working on his eternal endeavor of love and wisdom, and to his own task, which was replete with imperishable dedication to humankind. So, and he finishes the message, so when you feel tired, remember that Jesus is working. We started our humble undertaking only yesterday, but the Master has been toiling or working for us for how long? And Emmanuel sometimes is too blunt. Called us lazy. Called us people that don't stop complaining. But the question is, doesn't he have like a point? I think so. We complain about everything and anything until the day when we realize that complaining doesn't solve any problem. It only adds to the problem. Don't complain in work. If you don't want to work that job, look for another job. But don't complain, because complaining just makes our heart grow heavier and then makes the job or the work even worse, not only for us, but for the other ones too. So what Emmanuel is trying to tell us is that work is part of the creation. It's part of what it is. Nothing works without work. There needs to be work for us to have what we have, what we are, what we will be, and what we will have. I like to think, for example, and I say this from time to time, I like to think that like a shirt that I'm wearing today, right? I could not make a shirt like this. I need some other people to make the shirt for me. And if it's not a person that's doing it, it's a machine that's doing, all automated. Okay, so who created the machine? It was someone who created the machine to make it work. What if the machine breaks? Who's going to fix the machine that creates the shirt that I'm wearing now? Someone has to do their job, or that other job. Oh, but I cannot do that job. Okay, so what can we do? And we will find a job. And some people are going to find this job better than the other job, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Jesus supposedly was a carpenter when he was growing up, right? That's what we hear all the time, because his father was a carpenter, so he worked as a carpenter. Who wants here to work as a carpenter? I bet not everybody, right? But he did his job at that time doing the job of a carpenter. But what if he was a mason that used to work with rocks? It doesn't matter. He used to do something. What do we do? What is the work that a kid, that a child is doing when the child is growing up? Being the child, learning. That's the greatest job that a child can do, is learn. And how does a child learn if not making something? And you can tell me, right? How do you know? Do you know how to write your name? Yes. How do you know how to write your name? School. Because you went to school and somebody told you, right? Your name. What's your name? Livia. Livia. What's the first letter of your name? She knows the first letter of her name, L, from Livia. And how does she know? She knows because someone told her. She listened to it and she practiced it. Oh, I heard it so many times that I will never forget my own name. And then you never forget your own name. And then one day you didn't know how to write an L, right? But now you know how to write an L. How do you know it? Because you did it. How many times did you write the L? Exactly. You don't know because you did it so many times. And you're going to do it so many more times throughout your life, just like I do. Not L, M's, right? It's a different letter, but we do it by repeating, and that's our work. Our work is to do something that's useful, sometimes for us, sometimes for other people. And then we try to improve life for everybody because each one of us, we are doing our own part. So, oh, I'm lazy today. Oh, that's fine. I mean, we need to rest, so we rest. That's fine. There's no big deal about it. We rest. It's like a fan, right? We put a fan, and the fan starts rotating like the blades, and then wind starts coming towards us, right? There's nobody in the room, and if there's no need for the fan to be rotating and wasting energy, what do? We turn it off, so give it a rest. That's us. We rest at night, we sleep at night, but even at night, being spiritists, we know that we rest our body, but we can also work our minds, we can work our spirits, we can go out, we can do, we can help, we can learn. And that's how we can keep working all the time. But and that's the teaching that Jesus brought to us is, I mean, my Father is working ceaselessly. It's still working today, and I am working too. That's what he tells us. So, and what if he is doing this? Why aren't we? So, um, the balance between work and rest, and the balance of knowing what to do, when to do, it's as we keep moving forward, that's how we grow. But we have to understand that complaining and being lazy, I mean, we're just postponing whatever we need to do in terms of our own evolution and our own progress. So let's work, let's rest, let's work, let's rest, and let's keep doing it just like the world does, right? It's always a cycle of up and down, work and rest, rest and work, and then that's what we keep doing. So this is chapter number 4, very very small chapter actually of the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life by Emmanuel and Chico Xavier. This is one of the covers that they have out there. But now let's invite our dear Maria Plummer. She was here last month, and I told her that we would invite her again soon. And then she said, I can do it next month. I said, yeah, you're invited. We accept it. So she's back to talk to us about a celebration of absence, the mercy of divine interruption. And let's hear it because the title, it certain opens up a lot of stuff that can be talked about this. So Maria, thank you for coming once again, and now it's your turn.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you for the center for having me today. I'm really grateful to be here. Um, Thank you for your talk. I won't admit that we were complaining about work getting here, so we won't say that. Um, if you notice, I have cue cards in my hands, and I'm going to also read from them because it has to do with what I'm going to talk to you about. So um, it's going to be a journey for sure. So today, first and foremost, thanking God in the spiritual plane for allowing me to be here today to share with you my journey. And it's a celebration of absence, the mercy of divine interruption. So, I'm sorry, guys, went too far. So, it's interesting because I never would have expected to be grateful for the absence or interruptions or even mercy. I didn't think I would be so excited and grateful to expect to feel that way. I remember I said I would be reading from cue cards because it was part of what I was going through as well. So it says, um, definitely the title is a reflection of celebrations of absence, the mercy of divine interruption. Sometimes the moments in life that feel lost or interrupted later reveal themselves as guidance. Okay. So this is a beautiful image for me because it has to do with the moment in the gospel. And it spoke to me a lot. This is a moment in the gospel that has always touched my heart. The disciples are in the boat with Jesus, and you guys are familiar with this story. You've heard of Jesus being in the boat with the disciples. This one in particular has to do with a storm when the storm begins to rise. And it says, the winds grew violent, the waves began filling the boat, and Jesus is asleep. He's not anxious, he's not rushing to control the storm. He is resting in the stern. And it took me a moment to figure out because I don't know the parts of a boat. I'm like, what is a stern? So the stern is the back of the boat where actually it holds a direction where the boat goes through. You know what I mean? So you can go left or right through the back. But that's where Jesus was resting. And that was very important for me to understand that he was resting in the back. So the disciples were very concerned. They were very worried. Can you imagine being in the ocean? I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of water. After the Titanic, I have a very, very, very different perspective on whether I want to go on a cruise or not. So for me, even thinking about their time frame, being in a storm, especially in a boat of this size, um, and obviously the waves are crashing, water is going in. And the disciples are very concerned. They wake him up and they go, Master, do you not care that we are perishing? Very dramatic. I mean, it's a storm. I probably wouldn't say it the way I'm saying it. They probably would have shaken, like, Jesus, wake up now. So Jesus stands and says only two words, just two words: peace, be still. And the storm obeys. I'm pausing because this is a storm of my life. And I've never shared this storm story with anyone, not with my family, not with anyone. But here I am in public, literally talking to you about my storm. So just bear with me because it was not an easy storm for me. So for many years, I believed that the miracle of the story of Jesus, of calming the storm, um, was very important because of where I was, of what I was going through. But later I realized that it was something deeper. The greater miracle was not that the storm stopped. The greater miracle was that Jesus was calm before the storm even stopped. And that's important to note. He was not like the disciples. He was not nervous. He was not scared. He wasn't doing any of the same actions that the disciples were. But Jesus was calm. And because of his calmness, he was also able to command the storm to stop, to stay still. So, storms in life do not always look like the winds and the waves. Sometimes storms look like responsibility. Are you guys familiar with that word, responsibility? I mean, we come to the center sometimes and we just came from a responsibility working 8 or 9 hours, which the topic that Mackenzie just talked about is so ideal, right? We come from work. We are exhausted. We are here to receive the word of God, to feel that love and compassion, to generate more energy for our day and our blessings. So we come here, right? So we understand responsibilities. We have responsibilities at home as well, not just a job. We have responsibilities with our families. We have responsibilities everywhere we look. Sometimes storms look like productivity. If it's not one job, maybe you have two, or maybe three. And who knows, you have a side job of a fourth job because you just don't make enough. Productivity, that could be a storm. Sometimes storms look like doing everything for everyone. Have you ever felt like that? You have your day off, you have plans, you're going to do something, but it doesn't turn that way. It turns out to be something more. You have to be available for someone else, or you feel like you have to do something for someone else. But instead of feeling that feeling of, I'm going to do this for this person, you start to feel the weight like, oh, I just needed 5 minutes for myself, just 10 minutes today. Or I won't even ask much, just 2 minutes for myself. You ever felt that kind of weight? We call it strength because that's what we know, right? Responsibilities, productivity, those are our waves. So I want to talk to you about the moment of my experience in the mirror. The storm I refused to name, but it did name me. The storm called me out. The same way that Jesus said, "Be still," it made me still. My storm did all of that. At that point in time of my life, I had 3 jobs. I was working as a professor. I was working within my own business of bridals and alterations. I was also working for another business that had bridals and alterations. I was also working a different side job. So I really had 3 jobs. That doesn't include the fact that you go home, because we do have to cook, we do have to clean. And I don't know about you guys, but I wish there was a way to stop the mailman bringing me bills. So, and we have those, right? So we have those worries as well. I am the mother of 2 children. I want to explain a little bit. When my children was born, especially my daughter, my first daughter, my only daughter, I didn't know, like my daughter cried for 6 months. And then when I say my daughter cried for 6 months, I'm not saying she took a break. From the moment she came out of my belly, something happened that she would not stop crying and crying and crying day and night. There was no way to stop her from crying. This happened for 6 whole months of crying. After figuring out that she had like a little sensitiveness to milk, her milk alone was like $50 to $60. I mean, a little liter. It had to be that special of a milk. To stop her from crying, all of a sudden I went one day to the doctor and the doctor said, "Give her some fennel tea." I'm like, "Fennel tea to a baby?" And he's like, "Yeah, take a little spoonful of fennel tea, of fennel, put it in 1 cup of water, boil it, don't put no sugar, give it to your child." I don't know what that did, but that was like magic. I had covers of fennel everywhere because that was the only thing that made her calm. It helped her balance. And then for the first time, after 6 months, I was able to see who my daughter was because she was no longer crying. It took 3 years for me to be able to hear my daughter. I did not know what her voice sounded like. She never spoke. She was beautiful. To me, she was the most beautiful little girl in the world. And whatever she wanted, it was my first daughter. I mean, I wanted to do everything for her. She wanted to play. I got every single kind of doll possible, but she did not like regular dolls, of course, And, I'm a fashion designer, so my children definitely do not like fashion proof that God has a sense of humor. So my daughter had this little rag doll that she took everywhere with her. She couldn't separate from the rag doll. And it got to a point where the rag doll actually just broke apart. And I had to look for the rag doll. And even though I knew about sewing, she knew her doll. Like she knew every part of this doll. So I had to find a way to find this doll. And I did. I found another one and I bought an extra one just in case that one broke. So there was a little tweaks that I needed to do, but the hair was a little bit of different color and she noticed. So I had to fix the hair to make sure it was like the original. So, a little alteration. She never knew about it, but she was happy. So it got to a point where I was told that my child had autism. I didn't know what that was. None of my families had it or had gone through it. So when I heard it, I didn't know what to do. So I actually, once the doctor told me, experiencing this and, speaking to my husband, I went to my sister's house, who is a nurse, and I saw her. And all I did, as soon as she opened the door, I jumped on her. And I explained what was happening. And she's telling me, oh, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. And it wasn't that I was worried that it wouldn't be fine. I just didn't know how to work with it. What is it? And why do they identify it? As time went on, I realized, and even my son, also within the umbrella, I never noticed how brilliant they are. I may have a master's degree, but the intelligence that my children have cannot even compare. I'm grateful for God's blessings. For the longest time, we wanted children and we were able to have two. So those were also part of my worries, my concerns for my kids to be okay. And above all, because that wasn't enough, ladies and gentlemen, that was not enough. I needed to make sure I did my master's degree at the same time. So if any of you have taken higher education, a master's degree is no joke. And of course, it was through California and it had to be online, which an online class is like 3 times harder than a regular classroom. And I went 3 years getting my master's. Did I sleep? I don't know, maybe 2-3 hours, but it became part of my routine, part of my life. Working 3 jobs became part of my routine, part of my life. Understanding that my kids needed me was part of my life, and I would have done anything for them. So therefore, my life had to change. So I adapted to all of those responsibilities. And that was important to me. So one day, I'm getting ready for church. I don't know about you guys. You get ready for church, you got to put your eyeliner, right? I wish I had a pen, but I was about to put my eyeliner and I'm like trying to get close and I'm trying to do you have to get the line right or else what's the point of an eyeliner? So you start putting that little pencil at the edge and then all of a sudden I'm like, why can't I not get this line? And I noticed that for a while. Then I started looking again. My eye was moving, not blinking. It was literally moving. So I could not get it to put the eyeliner because my face started to melt. So I was in front of the mirror with an eyeliner trying to figure out why I can't, actually the most important part was that I couldn't get the eyeliner line on. At that moment, I wasn't thinking about the melting of my face. So when I realized what was happening, all of a sudden my right side wasn't functioning. I was not able to do much. And it was hard. It was hard to see all of that happening at the same time. And at home, the only people that were home at that time were my son and daughter. So my children do not react to emergencies the same way that I would react to emergencies. They would almost say that I'm exaggerated. I mean, I don't know why they would say that about me, that I'm exaggerated, but I'm going to let that slide because they're my kids, but they don't react the same. They don't react the same to my concerns or my reactions. So when my face was melting, I needed to find a way to call for help. The phone was in the kitchen because, why would I bring the cell phone to the bathroom? So I had to try to walk. And of course, I was noticing that I could not walk on my right side. So I'm thinking, how do I do this? Because just taking a few steps felt like a few miles. I couldn't get to the phone. When I did, that I was able to get to the kitchen and dial, the first person who I thought of was my dad. He's a very special man to me. We're actually not related, but to me, he is like a father. So was he was the first one always, to think about. So I start, I have his little face icon. So I clicked on the face, his number, um, got on, and I'm holding it, and I'm trying to talk because I could not talk. And I'm trying to let him know that I need help. And I don't remember the exact conversation. And there's a reason why I don't remember. And as we go through, you're going to understand. I could not remember the exact conversation, but I knew I wanted help. And he's like, "Do you need help?" And it was so hard for me because remember, I had 3 jobs, always taking care of the family, doing responsibilities, going with the masters, very active in the center, very active in the community. So when he's asking me, "Do you want help?" I didn't know how to say yes, even being at the moment that I was in. And I just called him to help, but it was hard for me to say yes. And when I finally said yes, obviously he called someone to help me. We ended up in the hospital. Um, and when went to the hospital, other things happened. But just know that at the moment of transition of what I was going through, I was actually feeling peace. Sounds weird, right? I was feeling peace. And you're like, you're just telling me this dramatic story and you're saying, yeah, I know you're laughing. You're like, you feel peace. But I did. I felt peace. So I want you to remember that. Remember where we stayed with the story, okay? So difficulties often become instruments of moral transformation. And the gospel according to Spiritism tells us that, right? Difficulties is what helps us. And suffering is not punishment. And even though I did not know it at that time, I wasn't thinking like I'm thinking right now that suffering wasn't punishment. Yes, I read the gospel, but one thing is reading it, another one is going through the motions. You know, love your brothers, right? Sounds very easy, but sometimes loving that brother, it takes a little bit more energy than you think. Everybody's shaking their head. But we all go through these moments. And it's very important for us to understand, even as students of Spiritism, we're not perfect. We will have our trials and tribulations, but it's really up to us on how we take that, how we grow with that. And it's not a punishment. And it took me time to understand that what I was going through was not punishment. And the opportunities of transformation was actually there. There was a growing purpose to this. So there's actually 2 chapters in the gospel that actually I find very powerful with the message that I want to give today, which is chapter 5, which is Blessed are the merciful. We are reminded that mercy is one of the greatest expression of love. Sometimes that mercy, the mercy that we receive, it's unexpected and God appears in different ways. And the other one that I truly find that it correlates the same is faith moves mountain. You guys have heard about, faith. If you have enough faith, you can, the size of a mustard seed, you can tell the mountain move and it moves. So me trying to be logic, I'm like, that's a lot of faith to move a mountain because I was thinking of a physical mountain. Can we move a physical mountain? It could be. Don't say no. Don't say no yet. You got to say yes. Follow the path. It could be that we can get to a point to have so much faith that, yeah, we can tell a mountain to move it, it'll move. But they were talking about different mountains. They're talking about the mountains that we build inside, the walls that we build inside, everything that we create to shield ourselves. How many times have you been close to someone and yet you feel so far away? Not because they're not close to you, it's because you have built this barrier, this invisible barrier that nobody can get through. It's very difficult. But these 2 chapters talk very clear and aligned with what I want to do, with the inner calmness that Jesus demonstrated in the boat, right? It aligns with that faith. That is why the story of Jesus calming the storm fits very good with what we're teaching here because it talks about that faith. Jesus did not waver from his faith. He told the storm to be still and it obeyed. Can you guys do that right now? If there's a storm, if you tell the storm, to stop, will it stop? No, you don't feel like you can? But what about if you could? If because Jesus is our guide and model, that means whatever he did, we should be able to do. Is that not correct? So why do we like that? Because you guys are telling me no, right? From the audience, you're telling me no, it's hard. But what if we can? Keep that thought. Don't go away. All right? So suffering is not punishment from God. And it's important for us to know that because, you know, even though I was going through all of this, I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like suffering was not a punishment from God. And I wasn't blaming God, but I was wondering, why am I suffering? Like, I understand I came to this world to do better, to be a better person. But I mean, do I have to suffer all the trials and tribulation at the same time? I mean, can it be like I pass through one, pass it, and then go through the next? But, they don't come when we want them. But when they come with a full force. And that's what we have to understand. Because a lot of that, the same way that Jesus told the storm to be at peace, we control our storms. Did you guys know that? I know I'm learning that we control our storms. So think about what I told you about how my life was and what I was doing. I was stressing myself to the core. So the reason that storms happen also is because it does transform us. It forces a change, not force, but it does help us. It gingerly guides us to a different area. So according to the teachings, when life is comfortable, how much of us love what we do, or we have a certain pattern, and if something breaks it, our day is not the same. Are we comfortable where we are? I see you guys smiling. Are you? We rarely question ourselves. We rarely change deeply. When we're comfortable, we don't change. Why should we change something that we feel comfortable in? It makes no sense. If it's working and it's not broken, why reinvent the wheel? We remain attached to habits and illusions. Think about it. What habits and illusions do you attach yourself to? I know what I attached myself to, and I'm explaining it to you. I'm explaining a story that I never shared with my family. And that is not easy. But when a trial comes, when we reflect, we become more humble. We seek God. We evaluate what truly matters. And in the sense, difficulties becomes a teacher. Difficulties becomes the teacher. Think about that. Our guide and model helped us through a trial, especially when they were in the boat. It's the same thing with us. We're going through those storms, but the storm reveals something important. It reveals who was in the boat with them. Jesus was with them. So why is it that when we're going through our trials and tribulations, do we think about Jesus? Let's be honest. Is Jesus in your boat? She's like, So think about it. It's important for us to understand. If we're here, right, we're studying, we're learning that Jesus is our guided model, that God above all is in our hearts always. He created us. We are part of his light. Why do we have such a hard time with that guidance of Jesus, of being led, even through the storms? It reveals where we need humility. It reveals where we need to trust God more deeply. For me, what felt like a collapse became an awareness. The interruption that frightened me became the moment that allowed me to discover peace. So when we hear that difficulties becomes instruments of transformation, it means something very simple. The storm we fear is the very thing that's going to help us grow spiritually. Isn't that interesting? I didn't know at that moment that putting an eyeliner would affect me that way. But it wasn't the eyeliner, but it was everything else that I put on myself. This book is very important to me because when I was going through my challenges, my storm, and the reason I say I was calm is I couldn't remember. I went through a moment that my brain, half of my brain, kind of went a little dark. And I couldn't remember. Guys, I couldn't remember that I had bills. You know how happy I was? I mean, I was so excited. Can you imagine? You're right here, right now. Imagine you had no bills. I mean, you guys are all smiling. I know the cameras don't see you, but you're all smiling. Imagine if you had no bills. Wouldn't life be amazing? You worked because you want to work, not because you have debt, right? I couldn't stop the mailman still from bringing those um, the mail, but I couldn't remember that I had them, so it didn't matter that he brought them. So it was important for me, for you to understand my story, that it came a moment that I have forgotten everything. I didn't remember the names of my family. I speak Spanish and English, and I totally forgot the Spanish language. And it was funny because I could not get my words out. For example, if I wanted to say peace, right? The first words to say it will be like peace. So when family would visit me, they would get so they want to help me. That's what family does, right? And I have 9 sisters, 4 brothers, right? And a lot of family. So when they came over, they wanted to help me with my speech. But what happened was, when I couldn't get those words out, I would be more frustrated because I needed to get it out. It's almost like it got stuck. And if I didn't get it out, I was not okay. And I had to teach my family that even though they're going to have to be patient with me, my speech was different. I can no longer speak. Memory was to the point that, you see how I have cue cards? You see how I have a PowerPoint, right? I have so many things, cue cards, phone, you name it. This was my memory. It says renunciation, right? I should be able to turn my head and say renunciation. It got to the point where I say, okay, renunciation, okay, renunciation. That's how my mind was. I could not obtain memory, which is why I wanted to show you some of my path. And I was a teacher. I couldn't remember my students, couldn't read anything. Can you imagine being in front of the class and you don't know who your students are? Can I remember the name? It was hard. I couldn't tell anyone. So I did my best and I prepared myself and I had pictures and I had everything. It was slowly coming and I didn't know that my storm was slowly coming. But this book was very important to me because when I was home and healing, this book, it was summer. And I remember going outside. I could read okay. It was funny because I can read okay. I just couldn't get it out. So I trained myself to read one chapter every day. Every day. I've never cried so much in a summer. Can I just tell you? Every chapter in this book made me cry. It was it was one of the books that really, not only was it inspiring, but it really changed me. It truly did. And what it was during my recovery, I spent a lot of time reading and reflecting. One of the books that accompanied me during my time of health was Renunciation. It's a Spiritist novel by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. In that story, the spirit Alcyon accepts difficult experiences because she understands that trials can help the soul grow in love, patience, and humility. Reading that story while I was healing helped me see my own storm differently. I was no longer taking pity on myself. Every time I read, I just remember the sun hitting me. And after every chapter, because every chapter made me cry. I don't know if you guys ever read this book, but every chapter made me cry. Not that I'm not an emotional person to begin with, because let me tell you, there's moments, but every chapter made me cry. And after every chapter, I would remember praying. I remember asking God to forgive me for what I did to myself. Every chapter, every day, I would ask God to forgive me for I was very conscious that I was the one who created this storm, that I was the one who put myself in that situation. I wasn't blaming God. I wasn't blaming Jesus. I wasn't blaming the spiritual plane. I wasn't blaming my neighbor. I wasn't blaming my husband, my kids, my jobs, nothing. I was blaming myself because through all the time that they tried to help me and guide me, I was not listening. But this book made me see things differently. And I remember asking for God's mercy and God's love every single day. And I started feeling a type of energy that I've never felt before. I felt healing energy. It was amazing. And plus the fact that I didn't remember bills, it was just amazing. I wasn't working or anything. It was like a full vacation. So I don't remember what I looked for to other people. You know how you can get sick? You can see through your eyes, but you don't know what they're seeing. I don't remember how distorted I looked or anything like that to them. Obviously, I don't see through their eyes. But to me, I felt amazing. Every time somebody visited me, I'm like, I would be so excited. I couldn't speak, but I'm like, yes, somebody's here. It's exciting. But it was all mostly through my mind because I couldn't get the words out. And it was great to see that support through the family, and everything that I was going through. So my storm, I remember when I stayed in the hospital. Let me go back to the hospital. Remember that I said I was overworked. I had a lot of responsibility and I had stress. Do you guys ever get stressed? No, that was fast. You didn't have to answer so fast. You could have held back a little bit and said maybe sometimes. So stress is very huge in our life. And it's at times we allow it to be even greater than our love. Think about that. Think about what we give strength to. But in my life, with where I was going through and everything that I was going through, I was extremely stressed out. I didn't know how to share my life concerns, not even with my own husband. I didn't know how to do that because through all my life, even my mom, all I saw from my mom was that she worked 24/7. She had also 3 jobs, she had her 13 kids. And I just remember her working all the time. So that's what she instilled to us, to work all the time. In a young age, we were all working at a blueberry field, picking blueberries at 4 in the morning. And I remember being, 6 or 7, and we were still picking blueberries every single day to survive. So our mother gave us the understanding of work. So that's what I knew. I worked. I did not complain about it. So it got to the point where I was seeing a doctor. My doctor was so concerned for me that he sent me to a neurologist with a doctor for the brain. And the doctor would say, you're stressed out. And he's like, he's telling me what is my life. And I told him exactly what I'm telling you, my 3 jobs, all of that. And he's like, you're very stressed out. You need to stop. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. This is just my life. What are you talking about that I'm stressed? I totally disregarded the fact that he was a doctor of the brain and that I knew more than he did. I actually went 3 times, and 3 times I ignored his advice because he just didn't understand me. How would he tell me that I was stressed out, living my own life? You guys know what it is. You have responsibilities. The doctor's not there working for you. He's just saying, I have another medication from you. It got to the point that I had a pharmacy in my house because that's how much medicine they wanted me to take. And you take advice, you take the medication, but there's side effects to that as well. So keep in mind, I was seeing a professional and I was not listening. Even my family's like, slow down. You have, it's okay. My husband's like, if it doesn't get paid, it doesn't get paid. I'm like, what, are you crazy? Of course it needs to get paid. It's a bill. We pay bills. That's why they come to the house, you pay it, and we're all happy. But happiness does not come that way. So it was important to understand where my mind was, so you understand my story. So at the time, it felt like a crisis, but afterwards, it produced transformation. So everything that was going through the hospital, I even remember being in the bed. The light was affecting me so much that I actually had to be in the dark. Can you imagine? I had to be in the dark because I developed this kind of migraine sensation that it actually wrapped around your head like a halo. And I could not get that sensation away. And it was a migraine. And they had to shut my eyes totally closed. And I had bandages. So I couldn't talk. My face was melted. I had bandages. And I remember just sitting in the bed at the hospital. I couldn't see who would go in, but I can tell when someone was there. And I remember my dad coming in and he goes, "What a life." And remember, I couldn't say much, but I'm like, that's right. It's a great life. I was so excited. So I must have looked horrendous My mom would call from Florida and she would be crying. I remember having my sister in the room and I had to give her the phone because she wasn't listening to me and I couldn't speak well for her to listen. So, I had my sister deal with that in the sense that I couldn't help her and I couldn't express myself. So it was important for you to understand that I was happy. Do you understand what I'm saying? That I was in the hospital. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I couldn't remember Spanish. I couldn't remember that I had bills. It was so exciting. And but the thing is, when I went home, I remember my family. I knew who they were. I just couldn't remember their names. That's hard. Like I couldn't remember. I could only be in the present. Do you know how hard that is for someone who thinks as much as I do to be in the present? It's very difficult. How many times have we been in this room, someone's speaking, and you're thinking about, oh my God, I got to work tomorrow. Oh my God, this is due. And I got to work extra hours. When is this done? She said an hour. you know, we think about all these things. We have all those things in our mind. So for us, it's important to understand ourselves. And I was so content where I was, where God had placed me, because I allowed myself to be present and to feel where I was. And I never had that before because I was too worried about everything else every single day. So that, my friend, was important. It was a deeper sense of God's presence. And it's a teaching for me, the difficulties that became the instrument that changed me. It was that moment that changed me. In the Spiritist understanding, trials are not punishments sent by God. They operate from transformation when everything has been too comfortable for us. When things like this happen, it's almost like, you ever got lost and your GPS is taking you somewhere else, but still to the same location? We have to be reset. So to me, what I was going through, I was being reset. Working 3 jobs was not something I was supposed to do. The bills are going to be coming even if I don't want it. I mean, I could hide my mailbox, but they'll still find me. They're good at that. So I was worrying about the wrong things. I was giving more strength to the things that overwhelm me instead of the strength of God, instead of the strength of knowing that He's got this. And if He's allowing me to go through this, He has the answers. It's funny because every time we've had tragedies in our home, it was so much better. Our lives were better for it. For example, we got broken in during Christmas time, and all the toys and everything were stolen. But for some reason, we ended up with more than what we had, if it makes any sense. So the blessings every time we go through something negative in our life, at least through my experience, has been something positive. I remember God's love. I remember the spiritual plane helping me. I felt the energy that they were giving me, and I was embracing it. I was actually looking for it, because every time I felt it, I embraced it even more. I'm like, please, yes, please give me, feed me. That was my nourishment. And the fact that remember, reading that book every single day, it helped me align even more. It helped me focus on what was important, because the story was bringing me back to what was important in our lives. It interrupted my life for sure. So, mercy. Spiritist teachings, right? God is just. God is loving. God does not cause suffering just because He can do it. Life's experience helps the spirit grow. And it definitely helped me through wisdom and love. And it's important because if you understand what I'm telling you, is that although I was paralyzed, although for 6 months I was debt free for a second, because that's what my mind believed, it helped me understand that I was free of the things that I put myself into. I was very sick for a very long time, and I wasn't getting well because I didn't want to get well. I was too tired. I was too sick. I was too exhausted. I made so many excuses that I believed in myself. So even the medication that was given to me by doctors did not help me, because I believed I was in a different place. I believed I was the only one suffering. I believed everything that was happening to me. And mind you, I was the one who was leading it. I was the one who selected 3 jobs. I was the one who decided to go for my master's. I was the one who was doing everything. So why should somebody else be blamed when I was the one who selected it? My health was not great, but I was choosing that too. The moment I just surrendered to God, when I was outside reading, that I was crying because the stories were so touching. I'm like, God, please forgive me for the things that I put my body through. I understood that I was hurting the instrument that He gave me here on this earth to be better. I was the one destroying it. And the spiritual plane was always constantly telling me, listen, slow down. And I'm in my mind, but how can I slow down? This is my life. What do you mean I'm stressed out? This is how my life is. But then when I accepted the fact that the doctor knew more, I actually went back and I apologized and told him he was an amazing doctor because he was right. That he understood what was happening with me, that he was right, that I was stressed out. But it wasn't until I gave myself to understand that God's plan was better than mine. Me having 3 jobs was not a good plan. Me stressing my life was not a good plan. What I'm telling you and what I'm sharing with you is, if you're sick, you do have the ability to heal yourself. Why? Because you would have that faith that tells you you can. When I started getting healed, I noticed. And that's where I started noticing I had the bills. I had responsibilities. I remember the names. I started remembering. And I knew everything was going to be going away. My face started remembering where it was supposed to be. So I felt it. I could feel the energy of the spiritual plane in God. Above all, honestly, because it had to be God. Why do I say this? Every day I had a nurse in my house. And they had a plan for me that within 6 months, I would start getting off the bed. I would do that the next day. Within 6 months, I would start getting up. I would do it the next day. Every time they had a plan, it would be a day for me, not 6 months. And that was through God's grace and understanding that healing was coming because I knew it was possible. And I wanted to heal. I wanted to be healed. But one thing I did ask is, do not take everything away, because I need to remember what I did to myself. Today, I can't speak clearly just having a speech like I'm having with you without having something to remind me of what I'm going to be talking to you about. But you know what? I am getting better, and I'm using these less and less. And I have no doubt there will come a time where I'm just going to be able to talk with nothing else to remind me of what I'm supposed to say. Because healing is already inside me. God's grace is already inside me. The love that He gave for me is already inside me. And what am I telling you is, do not allow every stresses in your life to change. Do not allow those storms in your life to take over. You tell them, be still, just like our guide and model did. Because if he did it, we can do it. Be still. Be still and firm in your love. Be still and firm in all that you believe. Believe in yourself above all things, that you are worthy, that you matter, that in this life, what you do with your life, it's up to you to choose those paths. And you can't blame the person in front of you or in back, or that you had a hard childhood, or that you came from rough beginnings, because we are the ones who make those choices. We are the ones who can make that change. I learned to love myself. I no longer look in the mirror and just see someone I don't want to see. I see who I am, and I love her for it. I love who I am. And I'm loving you guys for allowing me to share my story with you as well. I hope you understand my journey and what it means for you not to give up in all the trials and tribulations that you have in your life. You are bigger than the problems that we face. You are bigger than the health issues that you have. If you want to get healed, you can get healed because God gives us that grace. It is not medicine that the doctors give us that heal us. That only holds temporary things, but it never does a healing. Because if you choose, you can have all the medication in the world, but if you say you're sick, you're going to be sick for a long time. And they can give you harder and much higher doses, you will eventually you will be sick from the reaction of the medication that you're taking. I would prefer to have the medicine of God and love in my heart and to ask forgiveness 1,000 times for allowing me to go through this journey of my storms, to understand that I could hold those waters still. And thank you for your blessings. So I would like to close with this small prayer. And it says, Dear God, in this moment, we open our hearts to your infinite love. We thank you, Jesus, our guiding light, for teaching us that amidst life's storms, your mercy is our refuge. As we reflect on our journey, we ask for your wisdom to heal, your strength to endure, and your love to guide us forward. May we feel Jesus' love surrounding us always, my God. A love that calms our fears and gives us hope. Let us remember that your eternal mercy and love always starts in our hearts. This is our compass. This is our guiding light. Follow what's inside of you because it has never been outside. May God bless you and protect you always. Que así sea.
We're gonna come back to this in a few seconds, but I want to thank Maria for once again what she does, what she did. And before we started, she came to me and she said, "Oh, this is a new book that has connection to what I'm going to talk about tonight. So look at me, not the waves." It's a book that she wrote. It's a children's book. Um, and although she gave it to me, and I think that once we get a gift, right, it's for us to do whatever we want to do with it, right? So I am giving it to Miss Laura. This is a book for you. I'll get it one for me later. So yeah, this is for you. You're welcome. Um, this is Maria's work or Maria's website, one of the works that she's been doing lately, and probably after the storm, right? And it's been like increasing in size and in scope. The Creator's Atelier, and this is, I mean, this is live. The website is live. That's the website name if you want to take note later on. Um, it's a website for, I guess that it's better for you to come here so you can show it.
So you know how when we grow up, we can go to the library here and we can buy any kind of spiritist books, right? From Chico, Emmanuel. It's just, I wanted to create something that our children can start their library with. And I find it hard because resources for kids are difficult. And so I built a website that it's all free. If you go down the website, you can actually see all these free resources. You click on those buttons, everything is free. There's free books, free journals, free flip books, and it's only works through donation. And the whatever we, for example, the books that are sold in Amazon, anything we make from it, actually we take that money and we buy more books to give the books for free. So it's designed to help our children. We're basically disseminating in a modern way spiritism, the love for God, Jesus above all, right? So we wanted to make stories that they could understand in their level. So if you go up to the tab on the top, if you go, let me see where it is. Our spiritual foundation, see the right there? So this is specifically spiritism for children, but if you go down, there's going to be I wanted to create like a little journey. If you click that, there's going to be soft music because I also want to teach them how to do prayers and a little bit of soft music. And if you go down, thank you. There's just resources that you can click. If you click on the pictures, you'll see little videos and stories of Chico, of why the water is important. Like, why do we use water and what the importance of that? Just prayer in itself. And I think it has to start when we're young because anxiety and stress is something that kids also go through. So why not teach them the importance of our thoughts early on instead of waiting as an old person that I am. I actually said that out loud and in public. I know, and it's recorded. Waiting this long to understand what we can be teaching our kids right now in their level so they know how to cope with life, so they know and understand that Jesus does with his teachings is guiding us, but the love that we have for God has always been inside. That God is not somewhere up in the sky or anything like that, that it is in our hearts. So everything that you're seeing in this website is all free resources. And like I said, it's only sustained through donations. So if you think the work is worthy and you want to help out, you could always donate. If you want to sell books in your centers, I was able to have a contract with Amazon that I can give it to you similar to the cost that I have. So you guys can sell it in your centers as well and help whatever you create from that. You could even help the children's session expand within their own libraries with whatever you collect. The whole thing is that we're giving it forward. That which God has created for us to allow to be here in this earth to do, that we're paying it forward for our children, especially for them. Because without them, there is no future. We can build whatever we want in this world, but if they're not steady and steadfast where they need to be, what are we working for? And at the end of the day, I want my life's work to be dedicated to the children. So I hope, please visit the website if you want more information. I can give you more information about the website. But it's all free resources, honestly. And if you think there's an idea, like let's say you're a Sunday school teacher, you're looking for some guidance in what to do, let me know and I'll help create something for you, okay? It's made with a lot of love, and I hope that you get the chance to experience it, but above all that, pay it forward to a little one, okay? There's also like books for when the baby's already in the belly, for moms to read poems, because that's how they start. They start to understand your voice. What better way to talk about God while they're in your tummy, right? So these are a lot of the books that are on Amazon. And like I said, they're great resources to have because this is how we're going to start their library. So when they get older, they understand who Amalia Domingo Soler is. They understand who Emily Boudet is. But it's done to their level. And kids understand kids more than they understand adults. So why not do it through, coloring books, I Spy, and all of that for Spiritism. So I hope you like it. It's been a passion of mine. Thank you.
Yeah, so I wish I was a kid right now, looking at all these pretty and colorful pictures and lovely stories. This is that's a great story right there, the storms one. Um, and she is planning to do this also in Spanish and in Portuguese. So, I mean, this is all in English now, but she's planning to do as you noticed, she speaks Spanish and English, and she she also plans to do it in Portuguese too. So keep checking the website. Just take a note of the name. It's easy to search. Google search, you'll find it easy. So these days it's so much easier to find stuff that we don't even need to remember that much. But the Creator's Atelier and Maria Plummer, so you're gonna see it there. So thank you, Maria. It was inspiring um, um, and calming through the storm. So it was pretty good, and you will come back. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we will schedule another date as Eric will come back too. Next time, probably not just to sit down, but to come here and talk to us. We will schedule something with you guys again, and I hope you all enjoyed as much as I did, and so that we can finish it up. I was telling Maria that next month actually, and we're gonna have, well, next month the Cantinho is celebrating 24 years of age, and next month will be a kind of a little, I mean, special in a certain sense. We're gonna have a book club here, so we're gonna have like a small space in the back with arrangements about books and stuff. So we plan to encourage people to read more, and we're gonna have at least two special nights where we're going to sit here and discuss a book. So we are going to tell which book it's going to be so we can all kind of read if we want. And then on that specific night, we can discuss the book, and just like a book club that is done everywhere. If you go to, I live in Salem, which is a town close by. I don't know if you guys live around here or not, but and I go to Salem's library at least once, or it's actually twice a month they do, no, once every 2 months. So they do a book club there. So they say, okay, this next book club is going to be about this book. So you read it, and if you want to come sit down a night and discuss the book, and then like 8, 10 people show up, and then we discuss the book. So we're going to kind of do something similar here. It's not going to be a talk like I'm doing now. We're going to sit down, and everybody's going to, if you read the book, or if you only had read half of it, but it's going to be a nice little, different little activity. It will be at the end of April. So there's going to be enough time for people to read the book. We're going to disclose the book pretty soon, so people have time to read the book. And and I was telling Maria that maybe one day we'll do one about a kid's book too. With all this selection of books that she has here, why not, right? Have a selection of, read one or two, and then discuss her books. Unfortunately, we don't have that many kids today anymore in the group, so we don't have our Sunday meetings, or actually our Saturday meetings as we had in the past. But I see Laura here today. I see another one, little one right there. Maybe they start coming more, and then we can reactivate our children's activities in the future. What else? Anything else? You think that's it? Yeah. Just remind everyone, this meeting happens once a month in English. It's the second Monday of the month. We have this session in English. All the other meetings are in Portuguese. On Saturdays, we don't have a meeting in English, but it's every Saturday at 7 p.m. Here it's every Monday at 7 p.m. And we have our study group, which happens Tuesday nights at 7. But tomorrow, we're not going to have the study group because we're having a study about the passes. So that will be our last study, right? And then the week after that, we come back to the study when we're studying the book by Emmanuel and Chico as well, not Renunciation, but Paul and Stephen. So that's the book that we are studying. And And I think that's it for today. I'm well, once again, I was really taken aback by what you were saying here. So it was very touching. It went very, very deep, and I I mean I as a prayer, and I'm just gonna read this text really, because this is, to me, this is a deep prayer, and I'm just gonna put the text back here. That's why I said that I was gonna put the text again, so that we can maybe, just read it again and just feel Jesus and feel God with us by looking at this wonderful picture of the boat and Jesus controlling the boat through calm seas or through stormy seas by saying, "Dear God, in this moment we open our hearts to your infinite love. We thank you, Jesus, our guiding light, for teaching us that amidst life's storms, your mercy is our refuge. As we reflect on our journey, we ask for your wisdom to heal, your strength to endure, and your love to guide us forward. May we feel Jesus' love surrounding us, a love that calms our fears, a love that gives us hope. Let us and allow us to remember that your eternal mercy and love is always, always with us. Thank you, God. So be it. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone have a great night. As you go back home, may God bless us all. We're going to the passes, right? Yeah.